So hi everyone. As I said, I'm Millie. I am a fundraising officer at Chell Perkins, who are a fundraising company for charities. And today I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about my company, what we do, and give some sort of starting tips for how you can get going with grant fundraising. So just a bit of background on Chell Perkins. We started in 2017, founded by Stuart, a lovely guy. And Stuart's whole ethos is that he really wanted to provide accessible and practical charity consultancy at low rates, but at equally high or if not better quality as the big guys. Since our inception, we have partnered with 173 charities. We do sort of specialize in small charities, so a turnover of 250k and below. But we've also worked with really large ones. So I've got a client at the minute which is 1.2 mil turnover, but I've also got clients which are a little over £1,000 turnover. So super diverse range of sizes, and yeah, we're welcome to all. We have raised £7 million for charities since our inception. And we have done this through specialising in grant fundraising from trusts and foundations. So what exactly is grant fundraising? Because whenever I tell people what I do, they just sort of go, well, what is that? So essentially, grant fundraising is a type of fundraising which focuses on sending written appeals to trusts, foundations, and other funding bodies to secure donations. And a donation could be £100, it could be £1 million. As Ella mentioned, like you've got huge bodies like Garfield Weston who will hand you out 15k or over £1 million if you do well enough. Or you've got ones that will give you 50 quid, 200 quid. So it's quite varied. It's a long game. It's definitely not a quick fix. If it's a charity in crisis, I wouldn't recommend grant fundraising, purely because you put a lot of time into finding funders, making your application, and then from that point onwards, you wait sort of 3 to maybe even 12 months to hear back. Sometimes you're applying to bodies that only meet once or twice a year. They're usually quite inundated with applications. So yeah, it can be a long wait, but hopefully worth it. And it's super competitive. So there are just over 10,000 trusts and foundations in the UK, but over 166,000 charities. So you're going up against a lot of different people, a lot of great people. So rejection is really, really common, and you've got to be really resilient when sending off applications and asking for money. Yeah, it's a big game. And so I'll just talk to you about how Chell Perkins have sort of come into this and what it is we do, and some tips. So we have structured the sort of grant fundraising process around 2 areas, which is strategy and fundraising delivery. I'll go through strategy first. Strategy essentially includes us assessing your charity, where you're at, what kind of things you do, and then turning that into a presentation to a funder, which is going to be the most feasible option for you guys. So some charities do lots of different things, and we help condense that into a singular application. Some charities do one thing really well, and we help them present that in the best light. And once you've got that project, you've then got to start finding people who are going to be interested in it, and that is where finding funders comes in. So we have our own wide range of databases that we use to create a list of potential funders who we believe our clients have the best chance of success with. So we do this by assessing different areas of a funder, namely through access, ability, and affinity. And so this is a really, really key area that I think everyone can use, whether it's fundraising or not, just for assessing the viability of something. And so this is the 3 A's: access, ability, and affinity. So firstly, when you're looking at a funder, you want to look at the level of access you have to that funder. So essentially, do you have any relationships or any mutual contacts with anyone in that trust or that foundation? Do you know someone who knows someone who knows someone? Anything that can give you an in. And then do you have information on how you can contact them, or are they open to submissions? A lot of the time, if you look on a charity's website or on their annual accounts, it will tell you where you can submit an application or how. And if that information isn't readily available, then I would assume that they are not open to unsolicited applications, and it's more of an invite only basis. So I would strike them off. And lastly, do they have a clear mission or lots of information about what it is they actually want from you? If you can go to a trust and can really clearly see what it is they want in an application or want in someone they fund, that really increases the access you have to them. If it's a blank page, that's quite difficult to know, and I would say quite a difficult prospect to make the most of. Then you have your ability, which is basically, can they actually give to you? So you want to look at currently, are they giving out grants? If so, how much? You want to be realistic in how much they're giving. So if you've got a huge new project and you've got a deficit or a shortfall of like £100,000, you may have great access to a grant. If they're only handing out an average of £100 each go, the time you put into that application is not going to be worth the payoff you get back if you're successful. So that would decrease your ability. And then lastly, you want to look at their annual report and look at their spending habits. So are they decreasing their spending, feeling the squeeze a bit from cost of living? Or maybe they're spending out. And spending out means they've probably got, say they've got 2 mil left in the bank and they've basically said, okay, we want to donate this 2 mil by 2026 and then we're done forever. If they're spending out, that could be a really great opportunity to apply to them, because obviously they've got money, they want to give it away, but it also means competition is going to be a lot higher, because chances are everyone else also knows they're spending out, everyone else sees the opportunity, can be quite intense. And then lastly, you have affinity. And affinity is quite plainly, do they like you? So have they given to causes like yours before? They should have a list somewhere in their accounts of the charities they've applied to or the areas they've given to. And that can be really helpful for sort of assessing whether or not you think they'll like you. And they can sometimes give specified areas of interest, and these may change sort of yearly or quarterly sometimes. So make sure you're paying attention to that. For example, some will say, okay, we're really into Christian causes, homelessness, and drug addiction help. And if you're an animal charity, that's not going to be great for you. Move on. And then you also want to look at their trustees. So you can have a look at the trustees and see if they are part of any other charity or a trustee or any other charity. And that way you can see if they have any clear personal affiliations to certain causes. And because the trustees are the ones making the decisions on your application, that way you can see, oh, okay, maybe if this person's in the room, they can fight my corner a little bit. And once you've got those 3 areas, rank them all on a scale of 1 to 3, total them, and using that sort of total, you can prioritize your top 10, your top 15 that you're going to go and spend time on applying to. But this isn't just for fundraising. You could use this for a partnership. Maybe you're looking at potential partners and you've got a long list and you want to see who you think would be best for you. Or maybe you're bringing a product to a new market and you want to assess the market for feasibility and you're looking at that. So I would say this is a really helpful tip just for anyone who's trying to get some money or get an in somewhere, really. And then we go, take a bit of water because I've been speaking really fast. So then we go into the delivery section of what my company does, which is making a case for support. And so that is essentially a sort of 3 to 4 page comprehensive document which explains to a funder everything it is they need to know about your charity. And this is the sort of thing that you would send off to a written application. So you have written and bespoke applications. A bespoke application is usually one that you fill in online and they've got set questions. But a case report is what you would use for written ones, where you're just sending them off to people, just to different addresses. And your case report is really like the creme de la creme of what you should be doing as your charity. And it's broken down into these sections. So you have your intro, and this is just a snapshot of your charity and the project as a whole. Then you have the need, and this is not what your charity needs. This is the need that you are addressing in the UK or in the world. So if you are a mental health charity, the need that you are addressing is the increasing rate of depression in the UK, not the fact that you need money, if that makes sense. Your goals are just what you aim to do in your project and overall. So your goal may be to run 20 support groups this year, overall aiming to decrease depression in young people.
Millie, you've got 1 minute.
I'll be really speedy.
Okay.
Solution, that's the thick of it. Explain to them exactly as what you do, everything that's part of that solution. Then you've got outcomes and impacts. Outcomes are immediate. which is like immediately they'll have a safe place to be, impact, decrease in depression, monitoring and evaluation, make sure you're showing them how you assess and evaluate your work, and then the ask is the most important part, and that is how you directly address the funder at the end of your application and tell them specifically what it is you need. It needs to be direct, it needs to be specific and emotive. Here is an example of it. You can have a read through, and I'll send the slides around at the end if you want to. And essentially, you're just making sure that you're being specific about the money you want, directing the charity directly, saying their name, and then some emotive language in there. And finally, if you're rejected, take the feedback. If you're waiting on a response, you've won a grant, keep in contact, send them updates, help them fall in love with your charity. And to conclude, grants are not a quick fix. You should be realistic and targeted when finding funders. You should be clear, emotive, and direct in your case support. And if you ever have any questions, there is my contact info. There you go.